Thank you, Chief Lamb. Ben Woody, Assistant City Manager, and I'm going to provide an update today on the status of our water system. We've got some still photos and drone footage that we're going to show. Before I get started, I want to take a quick point of privilege, and I do want to thank three people because the information I present to you every other day is really the work of three people in the city, and I do want to thank them. Clay Chandler, our Water Public Information Officer, Dan Ferris, our Video Production Manager, and Mark Letterman, our Water Project Manager and Drone Operator. Couldn't do this without the efforts of those three people each day. So we're going to start with North Fork and the bypass line. What you can hopefully see on the screen is an image that we showed on September 30th. This is where we began. September 30th, we were able to access this area, and most of you remember this as the Four Marks area. I've heard this is where we showed for scale our drone operator, and again, he's up in the upper right hand corner of the slide. So we're going to do video. Okay. So I'm going to start a video. This is actually October 8th. So this is the condition of that yesterday, and I'll try to orient everybody to what you're seeing. But this is us working toward that pipe that I just showed, and it's going to freeze in 1 second. So we're showing video of a work site and large equipment and grading that's occurring to rebuild this 36-inch bypass line. And as the video zooms in, it is going to pause. And so what I'm showing you is this we've highlighted the area. This is where that 36-inch line was that I showed you on September 30th. So this is where we are trying to get. We are moving from the plant to the distribution system. The reason the line's in a different location is a good example of why it's hard to estimate completion dates. As we were doing this, we put a camera in that original line and found that it was clogged by boulders. So we actually had to remove another section of pipe that goes to the distribution center. So what that did is it makes us have to go a little bit longer or further to get that connection made. So again, that's just the kind of unpredictability of construction. We're going to post these videos and let people see those. I'm not going to sit on the videos for the entire time. So our next video, or actually, excuse me, our next photo, again, just another example of what is happening. Yes, this is a video. So what I want to point out here is we are showing a crew that is in the trench, and they are installing and connecting these water mains. These are large pieces of pipe, and we do a lot of it with equipment, but I think it's important to show that we also have to do these things by hand. So you literally, if you can't see, you see a large water main, and you see contractors that are in the ground removing soil with shovels. So that is backbreaking work. That is what this looks like to repair this bypass line that is so critical as one of our steps to move forward. This next slide is just, this is an elbow. So there's good news on this slide. This is yesterday. You can see where an elbow, so that's a turn in the pipe, is being lowered into the work area. You can also see a pipe in the lower portion of this picture. This is the last connection we're trying to make. So we have gotten very close to getting the bypass line connected from the treatment plant to the distribution system. I'm going to talk about what that means. That does not mean there is water service, to be clear, but that is an important connection. And on this photo, you can see that we're really getting close. Perhaps had we not have had to remove that piece of pipe that was clogged with boulders, we may have had that connection made already, but that's just the contingencies that we have to be prepared for in construction. So I'm going to show another photo, and what this does is shows really the overall scope of the repair area. And I think this is an important photo because you see there's a lot of earth that's been moved around. And the reason we have to do that, and this is so the red line, I'm showing a red line, that was the original location of the creek. So before Hurricane Helene, and it's still there, the bed is, but that was the original location. But as you can see, the entire waterway has shifted. So the repairs that we've had to make on this bypass line have had to happen in this new waterway. And so what the crews have had to do is they've had to construct basically dams and move the waterway or in order to perform repairs to the pipe. So each time we repair a pipe, we have to move the waterway, make the repairs, move to the next section, divert the waterway again. So it really happens literally in 20-foot sections. A lot of work. And I want to give a little bit of context to this, just so I think so people can understand the gravity of this situation. The original design and engineering and construction of the 36-inch bypass line. So when we put it in the first time as redundancy, that took 3 years. That was a 3-year project for all that to happen. The repairs today, the emergency repairs you see, they're not their scale is not the same, but it's still substantial. And I asked our county engineer and our project manager what that would look like under normal conditions. So if we were to do this work in the way that we wanted to, it's probably a 2-year project, including design and engineering, and it's probably a 9 to 12-month construction project. So again, it's just remarkable that this work has been completed by our contractors, T&K Utilities in Tanoka, in this short of a time period. We started September 30th. This photo is from October 8th. But I do want to note, while that is moving at light speed, we are making sure we have our inspectors and engineers on site that this work is meeting our safety and quality standards. So as fast as it's moving, I want to assure the public this is being done the way it needs to be done in a safe manner. So we're very close. I hope that when I'm back on Friday, I can tell you that this bypass line is completed. So we have video, and I'm not going to show this whole video, but it will be available online. I talked about making repairs to the distribution transmission lines as well. We are focusing on key east-west connectors. The video that you see is now at Swannanoa River Road near Azalea Park. And again, folks that can see, you can see the road is effectively washed out into the river, which includes our water lines. I mentioned early on that we started our distribution work at Highway 70 near Whitson Avenue. That's the video I showed last week. That work is complete, so that's great news. And again, as I mentioned, we continue to move west to make repairs to our transmission lines, and that's because the water will move in that direction. So this is showing the crews that are staged at Swannanoa River Road near Azalea Park. I'm going to move to the next video. I know the dates show 3 days, but I want to point out it takes a day to mobilize and prepare and get materials in place. But the video you see now is the work that's been done really in 2 days' time. So again, you can see the progress that they make on these major repairs. Want to point out that this work is Tanoka and TP Howard, and we also have our partners from NCDOT. They are coming from the opposite direction to meet us. So again, everybody's mobilized. We're focused on the major transmission lines first. What's going to happen? So everybody, next steps are going to be as we get these transmission lines in place and repaired, that's necessary for the restoration process. And once we were able to get water into the system, which I'll talk about that in a second, we've still got some time to go on that. Kind of the next phase of this is, and we're already doing this, but as we begin to pressurize the system, what we're going to learn is we're going to find more breaks and more areas that repairs are needed. So this is very large equipment that are making very large repairs. As it moves forward, the scale of those repairs become less. And that's when our City of Asheville water crews who are already working, they're going to have so much work to do in the coming weeks. We know that. We've already lined up utility crews from other municipalities to come help us with that. So again, we have the resources sequenced and ready to go as we're able to begin restoring the water system. So that's my last video for the day. Again, we'll post those so everybody can see the work. So I want to start talking about North Fork Reservoir and Treatment Plant. When the storm came, it essentially flipped the reservoir. And so what I mean by that is all the sediment that was on the bottom was flipped to the top. So all this sediment, pieces of clay, particles are now suspended in the water column. Couple of things we're doing about that is we have engineers from CDM Smith Engineering and the EPA, and we're trying to develop the best treatment options for that really murky water. We have on site now what's called a pilot plant. So we have a treatment plant that is a miniature representation of the North Fork Water Treatment Plant. So what that allows us to do is to begin testing treatment scenarios, and that plant mirrors our big plant. So we have like almost like a science lab where we can start to test ways that we can treat the water and get it into the filter system. So that is out there. They're our scientists and our partners are doing that right now, trying to figure that out. The other thing that we're doing, because again, right now the water is not treatable in the North Fork Reservoir. The other thing that we're doing, again, this is CDM Smith Engineering and the EPA, is we're trying to develop and implement a in-reservoir treatment system. So what that means is, back up, that is not something that's unprecedented. So reservoirs that have turbidity happens, and there are treatment options that we can consider that have been done before. So this is kind of a normal course of trying to restore water, trying to treat water. But what it basically does is we have millions and millions of suspended clay particles in the water. They're just floating. They're actually charged. So these pieces of dirt, if you were to take two magnets and put them opposite to one another and they won't come together, that's what's happening. So these particles are suspended in the reservoir and they're bouncing off one another. They're not settling. So what we're able to do, we hope, is add a treatment that creates what's called coagulation. And I'll tell you what that is. What coagulation does, it removes the charge from those suspended particles and it allows them to begin to stick together. As these particles stick together, they get bigger and they get heavier and they begin to settle. So again, we are trying to find ways to increase or expedite the settling process in the reservoir. We are also trying to find ways to make sure we can treat the water. And just to be clear on the treatment, the filter system, if we were to put water in the filter system, North Fork treatment plant, that had too much sediment in it, it would damage our filters beyond repair and would add months to the restoration process. So before we put water in that treatment plant, we have to make sure our plant can treat it. And again, last thing I want to remind everybody, we're making lots of progress, but even when the water is able to leave the North Fork treatment plant, the process of refilling thousands of miles of pipe is going to take time. We have crews ready to do that, but we have to fill pipe, we have to fill storage tanks, we have to repair leaks, we have to remove airlocks from the system. There's a lot of work to do, but we're making good progress. And that concludes my comments today. Thank you.